Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Music Scene Investigation. Glad you're along with us. Rich Wildman here. If you're not familiar with how Music Scene Investigation works, I think I might be able to clear that up for you. What we do here is we review music from independent artists from anywhere in the world. Very easy for you to get involved if you're an indie artist. You submit your music over at musicsceneinvestigation.com. And every week we pull three randomly for review by our panelists. Our panelists are all comprised of industry experts from the field of music. And boy, we're happy every time they're with us. Our panelist over in New York City, Mr. Tom Chianti, is with us. Tom, how are you today, sir? Welcome.
Hi. How you doing, Rich, everyone? Things are going along smoothly. It's actually been a bit cooler lately. I've been able to turn down the AC, and I've actually taken to wearing shorts.
Shorts, huh? Well, that's good. That's good for you. And cooler weather, no rain, I take it?
Just scattered showers here and there, but for the most part, we had a couple of big boomers where I shut the studio down, where it got a little scary, but I'm a big boy.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming back again this week, Tom. Thank you so much. Our guest panelist all over in London happened to be our in-house panelist and our guest panelist today. Our in-house panelist, everybody knows, Ian Husbands, along with our guest panelist, Mr. John Schroeder. Ian, John, how are you guys?
Absolutely great. Howdy.
So we're glad you both are back with us, especially you, John. That's not shorting anything off Ian, though, but we're glad to see you back with us, John.
Well, it's great to be here, having to put up with Ian again, but it's nice having a break and then seeing him again and, reliving moments between times.
Which is always good. Lots to catch up on.
Oh, yeah, lots to catch up on, yeah.
So, talking about catching up, before we sort of have a chat with John, should we do some witness statement reports?
Yes, I'd like that very much, if you wouldn't mind, Ian.
Actually very interesting this week. For John, you don't know, since we've done the show last, we now do the witness statement, which allows our viewers to give their ideas on what the songs... how the songs are performing, basically.
Okay.
And they get a chance to rate the songs on songwriting, performance, and mix and production.
All right.
And this week, it's been a very strange one, actually, because for songwriting, all of the tracks came out with equal votes.
Really?
Yeah. So everything got 33.33333 recurring percent, which is quite interesting. So for best performance... our best mix and production, Song 3, who we voted for Song of the Week, were given the nod. So generally the audience agreed with us, but for songwriting there was a huge variation on ideas.
Well, I guess there is something to be said about that. I mean, 30,000 Feet in the Air by Robin Grimond was the song number one. Everybody said that was a nice novelty song, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, I called it novelty. And we did say that there were all three strong songwriting songs up there. That was a good week for songwriters.
And then
It was indeed.
And then song number 2, Bloodsucker by Ashes. Again, an interesting song lyrically. If I remember, Ian, you mentioned that it was just that.
It was.
So,
Yeah.
So dare I say songs are judged on from a lyrical standpoint as well as from a melodic standpoint, and the construction of the song all adds up to being something that is previewed.
Yeah, it's interesting how the results differ, but that's what we want. It's nice to see that people aren't just hitting in the same as us, because that would get pretty boring. Everyone's got to have their own opinion, their own ideas on what a good song is, and it's nice to see people differing on that one.
And then of course, song number 3, Falling by the Dusk, was the song of the week, as you mentioned, Ian.
It was, and that I've listened to that a few times since, and that's still a great song in my mind. So thanks for agreeing with us on that one.
Well, it's good. It's good when we find out that everybody who watches the show does happen to agree with us, and you guys on occasion. So that is nice to see. So,
can I ask you something here? Do you, from what you've heard about the songwriting, do you ever hear anything that happens beyond this, as far as the songs are concerned, out in the marketplace? There, what happens out there in the big wide world?
We haven't had any feedback. I mean, we watch a few of our bands, Spaceship Days being one of them, and they're doing pretty well for themselves.
They actually were awarded Artist of the Year in the Artist in Music Awards last year with that song.
Yeah, it's good.
So there's that. But no one commercial, per se. Right. But, we are on the lookout and keeping an eye on artists out there, and hopefully one of them will go off and do
it's
that.
It's all exposure. Any exposure is good exposure, so it's great.
So let's talk a bit about you, John.
Me?
You. I've been a Vela Award-winning songwriter for Walking Back to Happiness with Helen Shapiro.
Yeah.
You've worked with Cliff Richard.
Yeah.
Status Quo.
Yeah.
You're an artist yourself, releasing, was it 19 albums?
Yeah, written. Yeah.
Of instrumental, orchestral stuff, mainly.
Yeah.
Had a number one?
No, my number ones have been songwriting-wise with Helen Shapiro. I've had two number ones. I won the Evan Vela Award for the big best song of the year in 1961. The song was "Walking Back to Happiness."
And what was the other one?
Well, you don't know who the other one was.
Cast Your Fate to the Wind?
No, Cast Your Fate to the Wind was my orchestra.
Right.
Called Sounds Orchestral. Needless to say, it made the top 15 in the States, I think. And we made 17 albums following that all over the world. But sadly, the pianist in Sounds Orchestra was Johnny Pearson, and he died a few months ago.
I remember you saying,
really sad, So I was quite upset about that.
Understandable. So what was the other number one?
The two number ones, from my own writing point of view, were Walking Back to Happiness and You Don't Know. Those were the two songs that went to number one.
I thought you said You Don't Know. You're saying I didn't know.
No, You Don't Know is the name of the song. Yeah.
And that was Helen Shapiro again?
Yeah, that was Helen Shapiro, yeah.
So and who did that?
Helen Shapiro.
Helen Shapiro.
The who?
She was 13 and a half years old.
Oh, my goodness.
When she got that song. I found her, I discovered her in 1962, 61, 62, and I wrote all her songs, and two of them went to number one, and You Don't Know was the first number one, and she was at that time just 13 and a half years old. Sort of, it was the time of Brenda Lee, that sort of era.
Yeah.
You know?
Way before I was born, John.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've actually produced... When I wrote my book, called Sex and Violins, I had to relive the whole of my career virtually, and luckily I had a very good memory. And I've actually produced no less than 170 artists, spanning the 40 years I've been in the British music industry.
And no lawsuits.
Sorry?
And no lawsuits. That's amazing.
Actually, one.
One in 170.
Damn, I was going for, a perfect record for you, John. I'm sorry.
and for our American viewers, you were the man that brought Motown to the UK, weren't you? From America, including Little Stevie Wonder. Yeah,
well, I wined and dined Berry Gordy at the Talk of the Town in Leicester Square in London in, must have been about 1970, somewhere, 71. Somewhere, or maybe before that. No, but anyway, from that wining and dining him that evening with Barney Ailes and Esther Edwards, his secretary, I managed to consummate the distribution rights for the Town and Motown label for the record company that I was working for at the time, which was called Oriole Records, which was the smallest independent British record company. And we managed to get the distribution rights from the Town and Motown record label. So I started to release the product, and I remember the first release was the Contours, Mary Wells, and the Marvelettes. I decided to go out with hit them hard, and we released 3 very big chart records, American chart records at the same time. Sadly, it took 2 years of sheer frustration and dedication on the part of myself and all the staff at Oriole Records to try and break Town and Motown in England, and no one wanted to know. We couldn't even get it played on the radio. No one wanted to know about it at all. It was only at the end of the 2 years that we managed to break Stevie Wonder's Fingertips Part 2, which was our one and only hit on Oriole Records. At the end of the 2 years, the contract came up for review, and EMI came along and said, thank you very much. And their first release was My Guy Mary Wells. And you know what happened to that.
Oh, wow.
So we've done 2 years of absolute dedication to the product and to how great it was. I mean, I lived, ate and breathed it every day of my life during those 2 years I was with that company. But we couldn't get anybody, no one wanted to play the stuff. They just didn't want to know about it. It was so frustrating and disheartening.
Because as well as being a songwriter, a producer, an artist yourself, you've actually owned record labels as well. Alaska?
Yes, Alaska was my own record label, which I formed in 1972. But it's funny enough because the atmosphere of the talk of the town, when I took Berry Gordy out to dinner, I thought, what am I going to talk to him about? And of course I thought, he's a songwriter. We've got something in common. So we started talking about songs, and that led to other things and so on. And dare I say, I won him over, if you like, and managed to get the distribution rights for this label. And my God, there were some fantastic records, as we all know. But needless to say, dare I say, I get little or no credit, and Oriole, not for what we did during those 2 years. Everybody thinks that Tamla Motown started its journey with EMI in England. It did not. For 2 years, it was with me and Oriole Records, and we suffered hell and back to get that stuff aired and played and distributed. But, so I feel proud, actually, that I contributed to its success, if you like.
But you worked with EMI as well, didn't you?
Yes, I was with EMI for 4.5 years. Yeah.
Yep. And you were one of the leaders in bringing video to the UK as well, weren't you? Music videos.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You were involved very early on in the trade.
I was involved early on in it. Yeah. And I mean, I was very much, a major cog in the wheel. I made myself a major cog in the music industry in those days. You know. And you survived by hit records. You had to make hit records. If you were signed to a record company as the label manager, your job was to make hit records. And if you didn't make hit records, you were out in a year, gone. And with every record label I joined, and I've been with 3 major record companies, they've got the major task of finding new artists and assessing their potentiality, as we do here. Listen to product, songs and everything. This is what you're listening to.
Yep.
You're finding the right artist with the right song, and then you've got to put it together and arrange it. And I mean, records are made so differently today to what they were made in my day.
As you're finding out at the moment, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you're working with Sam Kelly and the Samandi crew. Sam Kelly's obviously a guest on the show for us as well.
I am actually making, in the middle of recording Samandi's 4th album. The 3 albums I made in 72, 73, 74, about that. And we had a big top 30 record in the States called The Message, and Samandi went to America and they toured with Al Green, and then they went again and did a tour on their own in their own name. We played the Apollo Theatre in Harlem and all this stuff, and Philadelphia. It was fantastic. They've got quite a big fan following, and yet this band have not been together for 40 years, and they approached me to put together a 4th album because there's a demand for it. And I said, I couldn't believe that we managed to do it. We're midway through it now, and it's fantastic, because I wanted to produce it as if you were producing the band in the old days, but with the benefit of digital recording of these days. So it's a mixture of the 2 things together that will give Samandi 2012 or 2013, maybe when it's released, something that is vitally different.
And I hear you've been working Mr. Sam Kelly hard because you've swapped studios. And you found out that the drum sound is totally different between the 2 studios.
We had a lot of problems. Let me tell you, we had a lot of problems with the first studio we went to. And the biggest problem was that what we were hearing back in the control room, which we thought was fantastic, when we actually got it back home on our little machine, and it was nothing like the sound that we heard. So what you heard in the control room did not represent the sound that you actually recorded sound, which was disastrous. And when we went into it, and we went to another studio, which is the studio in now, and discovered what actually went on in those initial tracks that were recorded, there was overspill coming from percussion to the drums and all the rest of it. It was absolute dirge rhythmically. And yet, what you heard through the monitors in the control room sounded absolutely
Clean and
spot
crisp.
on.
Yeah.
It was so misleading. We had to do the drum tracks again on 3 of the songs. Sam redid that, played exactly what he played at the original studio, in the new studio.
Yeah.
And we managed to cure the problem.
There you go. And he said you've been working him hard, John. You've been cracking that whip.
He doesn't like being worked hard. But
He's a boy these days as well. Come on.
no.
Well, I'm glad somebody can get him to work hard, and hopefully we can get a lot of work out of you guys today as well. Because as you know, we're here to listen to some new music. That's what it's all about here on MSI. So if you guys are ready, and if everybody out in the audience is ready, we'd like to get this show on the road with the first song out of the hat today is song number 1 on today's MSI. Hope everybody enjoys it.
If you haven't seen by now, there ain't much hope for his change. The ball is still, we're just spinning our wheels. Each one as fast as the same. The fountain is now run dry, and we're too shallow for the well. We need to escape from this emotional state. Let all the hostility expel, and cry if able. It's that time I'm so try to be stable, 'cause we got no control. Just be happy you're here. Don't make pain a career. Be good for all you've got. There is no reason to find what's on offer your time. It only piles on top. Time. Tomorrow would last for a while, but now as it stands, we're too deep in the sands, fixed at the bottom of the pile. The best we can do is unwind, lower the gun to the ground. The bullets are real and very able to kill. Death comes sooner than the sound. Cry if able. It's that time I'm so try to be stable, 'cause we got no control. Just be happy you're here. Don't make pain a career. Be good for all you've got. There is no reason to find what's on offer your time. It only piles on top.
There you have song number 1 on today's MSI. Now I'm going to change things up a little bit because John's over with Ian in the same room. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Tommy today and find out what he thinks about track number 1. Tommy, what do you think?
Well, I disagree with Ian, and I think John is totally wrong.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's very nicely done, played well. There's a little on the soft side for me. I wanted to hear a Meatloaf Springsteen type of expression to contrast the lightness of the track. The balances were good. The sounds were recorded good. I just wanted to hear more, instead of the head voice, more belt, more warmth, and definitely more emotion. The lyrical content was not memorable. There really wasn't that much of a strong hook in it. It could do well in a movie trailer as a radio piece as they're going down the road or something. It's definitely an album cut. I don't see this being a single.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you very much. Now let's go over to the duo in London, Tom and, Ian. I get Tom and Ian mixed up so easily. Ian and John, what do you guys think of track number 1?
Do you want to start or shall I start?
Okay, I'll start.
Go on in.
I'll sum up in 2 words, really, or 3 words. Pleasant but boring. The song doesn't go anywhere. I don't really know. I didn't even get myself to listen to the lyric or content of that song. It had no highs or lows in the song. There wasn't any hooks going on. The instrumental break was too long. It sounded like a filling album track somewhere by an artist maybe that's had a hit record and they just throw a few tracks on the album, and it's pleasant. It's very pleasant listening. You know, it's background music. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't inspire me to anything other than that. It's just the word pleasant, I think, sums it up for me.
All right, John, I appreciate that. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom and John are saying the same thing, really. As I'm going to say, it was a bit boring. It just didn't go anywhere. That chorus, as John said, needed some weight in it to lift it and bring it up and make it into a different part of the music. The dynamics were very flat, and that's both in the mix and in the performance. I found the acoustic guitar sound was very tinny. Sounds like it's a mono track been de-eyed, which needs some attention on the EQ. The vocal was very hot, too much high-end EQ and too loud in the mix. I found the drums were okay, could have been better, especially the kick drum, which I felt was boxy and flappy, and that really needed some compression to bring that out in the mix a little bit and tighten it up. I like the addition of the sax. You know, there's always room for a sax in a song, if you ask me. And it was the performance on that was fantastic, as was the performance on the sort of tremolo guitar that was going on there in the background. Like to have heard a bit more of that, to be honest, because that was kind of pushed back. I found the rest of the performances, including the vocal, not so good, to be honest. And I think, as Tom said, that vocal needed some energy, some inspiration, some power behind it, rather than just being so not nonchalant about things. It just seemed to sort of float there happily on the music and do nothing and inspire nothing. Lyrically, what I do remember of it was very cliche. And I can't even sort of give you this sounds like so-and-so, because I can't actually place this in my head who else this must sound like. It is that background music. It is, you know, if you heard it playing in a restaurant while you're having a meal, you wouldn't give it two listens again, but it would be nice while you're eating, sort of thing. So there is something there. There's obviously some good performance in there. And, you know, I think with tightening up the performances, getting that vocalist to sing it like he means it, and paying attention to how you record your sounds, I think it could be a lot better.
I often wonder why people record a song like that. Why do they make that record like that? For what end? What
You've got to
did they
remember,
see
John,
of a
that we
piece of product like that.
we do indie. We're indie musicians, or we're reviewing indie musicians. So some people aren't necessarily out there for a deal or to be big. They're just there because they write music and that's what they like to do. It's more of a hobby for them, which is something we need to remember when we do these reviews. But still, if you're putting out a bit of music, I agree, you should be aiming a little bit higher.
Yeah, it is hard being in the music industry all your life and making records for what you need for those out there, not making music just for your own pleasure, which is...
But that's why your experience is so valuable.
Yeah.
I agree, and I appreciate all your thoughts on that. The name of that track is Cry If Able by Toveco. Toveco with Cry If Able. We appreciate their sending that song in to us. Thank you so much. Now, gentlemen, we have 2 more tracks to listen to. Let's get to the second track, and we'll get your thoughts on that in just a second. Here is track number 2, everybody, on this week's MSI.
Prom queen thought of the chances she missed while reflected in the scarlet light of domesticity, chores and a debutante bliss as the window rolled down to her right. And the cars at the traffic lights are standing still while the kids at the shopping mall have drunk their fill. And the bird that flew south in June was in full flight as the young boy hesitated at the amber light. As the green nightfall raised its head again, she knew that he'd done nothing wrong. Yet she couldn't stop all of the anger she felt as she brought her hand down so strong. And the cars at the traffic lights are standing still while the kids at the shopping mall have drunk their fill. And the bird that flew south in June was in full flight as the young boy hesitated at the amber light. Should he stay or should he go? Run away or run back home? Should she stick with what she knows if she knows, if she knows?
Song number 2 on today's MSI, and I want to find out what everybody thinks. Let's go to John and Ian first this time around. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Shall I say this one then?
Yep.
Rightio. First of all, love the voice. I mean, reminiscent of bands like Heart, Never the Bride, Bonnie Tyler to me. Really, really good voice. Think she could do more with it in this track. Some harmonies would be lovely to hear, and just a bit more power pushing out in some places, because there's some good lyrics going on there. It's a storytelling, social commentary style thing, and I was actually compelled to listen because she's got a good voice and her delivery was strong. I just think she could do a lot more with her voice in this track. Obviously a demo. I'm hoping this is a demo that she is then going to take on and play to a band, and then the band are going to work this up. It does need the drums. It could do with some bebop and guitars in there. Acoustic was too loud and poorly EQ'd, and had a chorus effect or a phase effect or something on there which I didn't like. If you're going to do a song stripped back like this, keep it natural as possible. Because if you're going to start putting effects all over it, you might as well start building the track up with drum beats and bass lines and everything else, in my opinion. Piano sound was nice, the little arpeggios going on there, but again, there was no separation in the mix. Everything was on top of each other, and the vocal, again, as compelling as her voice was and as good as her voice was, there was distortion. It was recorded badly. This is why I'm hoping that this is just a demo to play to a band who are going to go on and take this into a studio and record this properly. Because I think there is a good song here, and I think her delivery is good. And I'd like to hear this with some drums kicking in, not too late. Keep it nice and empty on the intro, maybe the first verse, and then the drums building up through the choruses, and really building that song into a big crescendo at the end. Big guitars coming in. Sort of real cool bass line, just sort of holding everything together underneath it all. Big harmonies on the choruses. You could do so much with this track, and that's the beauty about hearing it so bare, is that you can actually hear other things going on. String sections, John?
Yeah, I think I agree with Ian in many ways. I think it needs producing. It's got potential. I think the major plus in it is the girl's voice. I couldn't really fathom out what the song was about. I heard snatches of lyric and so on, but I found that what arrangement there was very distracting to the vocals. I found it got in the way. I think the opening figures were fine. I thought, well, this is going to be nice. She comes in, nice voice, and then we get all this arpeggio stuff, which is way too upfront to me, interfering with the voice. Song doesn't develop in many ways. But, all in all, it was pleasant listening. I think it's got great potential, but it needs a proper production behind it and some thought about the arrangement. It hadn't really got an arrangement with too many ideas. And once she'd been through the whole song once, there was an awful gap of about 2 to 4 bars of nothing. And you waited for something to happen, and then the song started again. All that needs to be looked at to me, But basically, the girl's voice, very pleasant listening.
On first thoughts, John, what would you do with that if you were producing it?
I'd strip it right back to the beginning, just the voice, and let's examine what the song is trying to say, and listen to her and the song, nothing else, and then my head formulate the arrangement around that. She is the most important thing with that song. Everything has got to be complementary to the voice and getting the lyrical message of that song over, and the background is only supporting it. Once it starts to interfere with it all, it becomes all totally mishmash to me, And I say the acoustic sound in the beginning is nice. It sets it up, but then it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, gentlemen. Let's go to Tommy, find out what he thought. Tommy, what do you think?
This and the first song have similar problems. It definitely needs to be pulled back and reproduced. She has an excellent voice. She was pitchy in spots, but, you know, her voice carried through. It was too long, too wordy, I would think. I know you're trying to tell a story, but, you know, you can tell the story with less words. And I think that's what this problem is. It's only 3:34, but it felt a lot longer. And to me, that's a sure sign that there's something wrong. And I think, as everybody suggested, pulling it back, trying different areas to experiment with. It could get harder. It could get classical. It could go jazzier. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of talent involved in the project. I didn't like the song. Again, lack of the hook. It really needed to support that vocal, and there was, you know, fortunately she had a good enough voice that she could carry it. Otherwise, we'd be a lot harsher on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that, Tommy. Thank you. And I want to introduce that track to everyone. The name of that track is called Traffic Lights, and it's by King and Queen of Sorry. King and Queen of Sorry, we appreciate your sending that track into Music Scene Investigation. All right, gentlemen, before we get started on the next track, I do want to remind everybody out there to hit up Twitter if you're an indie artist or a fan of indie music. Take a listen and a look out for the guys over at the Indie Music Bus. Indie Music Bus. You need to look that up. You want to be a part of that, whether you're a listener or an artist. It's all good fun from there. And also want to remind everybody on Tuesday nights, Twitter Tuesday Live with our good friends Mark and Carol over at Butterflies Radio. You got to check that out, too. It's a great time. I'm in there all the time, every Tuesday, and we have a lot of fun doing that. So we hope to see you there as well. Now, we got one more track, guys. Yes?
I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of people who are listening, Mr. and Mrs. Bradley. So a quick hello to them. They just text me to say they've tuned in.
Well, I'm glad they have tuned in. I take it they're friends of yours then.
They are very good friends. Andy's the guitarist in my band.
Oh, well, he knows more about you. We'll have to get him on and talk to him sometime. So we appreciate their tuning in as well. So, gentlemen, let's listen to this third track on today's Music Scene Investigation.
Just keep running, but I don't know where to go. Been knocked down before, face first onto the floor, but here I lay still. I just keep stumbling down the wrong fork in the road. Misshaped memories, wish these were gone from me, but here I think still. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back. I just keep but I don't know where to go. Been knocked down before, face first onto the floor, but here I lay still. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm not looking back. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back. Please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back.
That is song number 3 on today's Music Scene Investigation. We're going to go over to the two gentlemen in London, Mr. John Schroeder and Ian Husbands, to find out what they thought. Gentlemen?
Fight for it.
Okay.
Go on, you go for it. You win. You win.
For me, that is the most interesting one out of them, out of what I've heard. It seems to hold together better than most. I like the lead vocal. I have my certain doubts about the arrangement. I think I would rearrange it a little bit more sympathetically to the feeling of the song. I think it's almost sort of passed off as just another track. I think more could be made of it. But I do like the guy's vocal. I like the, the closeness and of the message of the song. I would change the arrangement of it. If I was going to record that song with him, I would redo it in a slightly more together fashion. But overall, pleasant listening again. Again, it comes across as being pleasant, unfortunately, not strong enough to hold my attention and say, wow, great track, fantastic. And also, where does it sit in today's marketplace? I think it's got a problem of finding a place in today's marketplace for the type of music that generally is around all over the place today. But for all that, it's quite a fairly commendable track.
All right, I appreciate that, John. Ian?
Yeah, the guy's vocal is fantastic. What a great voice. But he's singing over this kind of almost country, typical country mix. Acoustic guitar, piano, bass, bit of organ in there, drums. When his voice is from my mind in today's market, hitting that sort of more John Legend feel.
Needs a different arrangement.
Totally different production and arrangement. I would have gone with a much more modern contemporary sound.
Yeah.
Put some synths in there, maybe even some beats in there. It's a really nice track. It's a strong song. I mean, taking aside that, what you've got here, the acoustic guitar sound again was toppy. It was metallic. It sounds like it's been DI'd once and just shoved in the middle. if you're recording an acoustic guitar track, do yourself a favour. Record one DI and record 1 or 2 live takes of the same take. So you're recording 3 tracks at the same time and mix them together, blend them together across the pans, and you'll get a much nicer sound. I could go into that in a bit more detail, but generally that's how I do it. On the drums, there was the toms were really annoying me. It was just dum-dum in certain areas, and they were loud and they were strong and they were low and bold, but they just stuck out the rest of the track because the rest of the track wasn't like that. And there was an organ in there, a Hammedy's type sound, and it just got pushed to the back of the mix, and I heard it out the end of the break where it went into the vocal and the guitar only. And
it fell apart at the end, didn't
it just, and the ending meandered on.
Yeah, meandered on. Yeah.
You know, you could have cut a minute off that track and made it a lot more commercial from that point of view. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, overall there's some good performances there. The lead guitar was good, but the tone was piercing at places where he hit some of the higher notes. It was just ripping through my ears and making me wince. Maybe I should turn it down, you say, but maybe you should EQ the guitar, right? And it wouldn't have to do that anyway. I mean, the guy's voice is shining on this. I think there is a good song here. I think lyrically it was okay. Again, you could maybe revisit a few of the words and rewrite, edit that a little bit. But production, it just seems wrong for that vocal.
All right, Ian, thank you very much. And Tommy, what do you think of track number 3?
I think it's Britain 2, the US 1. I agree with them. I love the guy's vocal. Could have pushed himself a bit more. This was a little hookier. It was a little bit better produced, but again, there's a weakness throughout where it doesn't stand on its own and make a statement. Each piece is interdependent upon each other in a mix, and these don't form something greater than the sum total of its parts. And I liked it. It's hookier than the other one. I think I would have gone a little heavier with the production. There was something else in there.
It'll come to you.
And probably next week. Overall, I liked it. I like the gentle ballady feel of it. I just think the guitars could be arranged better. Acoustic guitar, again, there are better ways to bring a guitar out in the mix than make it twang. You want the clarity of the top end, but if you do a nice stereo miking job, and don't forget there's a thing called compression, where you can give it a full body and tame it. And all these songs had trouble with the acoustics, and the acoustic instrument is hard to get nailed down, and especially if you don't have the time or the experience necessary. Bass was passable. Backgrounds.
Yes, they were really low. I was going to say that.
They were non-existent to me. It needed. There were places for beautiful harmonies throughout, and I think that would have helped filled it out. It seemed a little empty and lacking of something, and I think a stronger backing parts coming in and out would have done it much better, and approach it again from a different style. These all sound like they come from singer-songwriters. Well, this is the way I wrote it. This is the way we play We just add some drums and guitar and that's it. Not much thought has been going into, little strings, a little extra percussion, spicing it up a bit, tweaking it up a bit. I'm being hard on this track because I liked it. I think I liked it the most, and I think it really, should go back in. Add some synth strings, or God forbid you have a budget, real strings, and it come from a different angle that, I wrote it just me and the guitar. Think of it as a full production, not just a simple, okay, I wrote it, it's my song, I'm going to shine. Everybody needs to shine. It's a little disjointed.
Oh.
But as I said, I liked it the best out of the three.
Gotcha. All right, Tommy, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The name of that track for everybody is called When I Say by Clay Jagod 1. Clay Jagod 1, we appreciate your sending that track in to Music Scene Investigation. I want to remind everybody, as our panelists are determining a Song of the Week, it's your chance to let us know what you think. Be a witness on today's show. There's a button out to the sidebar of the video page on MusicSceneInvestigation.com which says just that. Click that button, you'll be taken to the polls, and we'd like to hear what you have to say about today's musical selections. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you guys to make a determination on the whole Song of the Week selection process. What do you say, guys?
Well, I've already, put my mouth in my foot.
It's the first time for everything, Tom.
Yeah.
So you're going song number 3, right?
Yeah.
Over to you. Go on, as my guest, John.
I don't think there's any question about it. It's song number 3 to me is the most together track out of the 3 of them.
Then I know I agree in full. I mean, song number 3 is potentially a good song. Pay attention to that arrangement.
Yeah.
So that is probably the quickest Song of the Week discussion we've ever had. With song number week being selected is When I Say by Clay Jagod 1. And I can't really pronounce Clay's full name, so I'll put it up on the site if I get the chance, which I will. So you'll be able to see it there. But Clay, congratulations on When I Say. All right, gentlemen. John, appreciate you being with us today. Always a pleasure to have you sit on our panel, sir.
I love it, yes. Yes, anytime. My pleasure.
Well,
he gets a chair here and a drink and everything.
Yeah.
There you go. You can't beat that.
I
mean, yeah.
No, I can't. No, I can't.
Well, again,
how many shows do you actually get to broadcast from the green room?
That's right. My lovely green room.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure being here to talk to you guys again. It's nice to talk about music and the world of music. It's always fascinating. And
guns.
Yeah.
Music.
Yeah, gun, yeah. Oh,
well. We'll leave that as it is. But thank you very much, John. Ian, as always, thank you as well. And Tommy, we want to thank you too. And everybody in our audience, we'd like to thank you for tuning in with us. And we'd like to invite you back again next week on Music Scene Investigation. We certainly hope to see you then. Until then, we want to remind you that every Wednesday you can tune into Indie Inquest Live on Music Scene Investigation, our radio site. In fact, you have a little button up there on the page which will take you to it right now. You can listen to songs from the broadcast 24/7 there. And reminding you that on Wednesdays, 5:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m., GMT, you'll be able to hear Indie Inquest, where we bring you music news and software picks, and you'll even get to hear my selection out of the 3 you've heard today. What one did I like best? Well, you'll have to tune in to Indie Inquest to find out. For now, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to play out with Clay Jagod 1, When I Say, on Music Scene Investigation. Thanks for being with us, everyone. Talk to you again next time.
Good evening.
Cheers.
Just keep running, but I don't know where to go. Been knocked down before, face first onto the floor, but here I lay still. I just keep stumbling down the wrong fork in the road. Misshaped memories, wish these were gone from me, but here I think still. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back. I just keep running, but I don't know where to go. Been knocked down before, face first onto the floor, but here I lay still. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm not looking back. So please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back. Please believe me when I say that I'm sorry. I say that I'm sorry. Please believe me when I say that it's over. I say that I'm not looking back.